Yeah. Hey there, folks. So, goodness gracious, did did civilization begin because of tides in southern Mesopotamia? The whole prehistory of Fife has been excavated in a field near St Andrews, not on the golf course, some will be pleased to hear. And apparently, smelling good was a thing all around the Mediterranean in the Iron Age. So much to look forward to. Hello, welcome, Michael here.
Rupert here.
How are you all
Yeah,
doing?
and my cat as well, actually, today. The cat's just come in,
Very
dribbling
well.
all over me. It's quite disgusting.
Is he trying to be an internet cat?
Good to see you all. So many of you there already.
What's your favourite bit from coming up from this evening then, Rupert?
Oh, that's not an easy one, actually.
No.
Do you know what? I know it's late, but Iron Age perfume, actually, might be one of them. Because it's just, it's so sophisticated, and it's an act of the tribe that, when we've been talking recently about,
Yeah.
on the back of shipwrecks and things like that, and we were talking about cargoes and what else was being traded. And all right, I know this is a chunk more recent in time, but nevertheless, if there's this much perfume and scent that's being
it
traded
does
around,
so reinforce so much of what we've been talking about, about shipwrecks and trade and all the rest of it. Anyway, that's for later on. Greetings to you all. Thanks for being here. As usual, we recognise a lot of friends in the chat here from Patreon. But if you're new here, if you've not been with us before, don't be shy. Tell us who you are, where you're from. You're very welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that. We'll tell you a bit about what's going on later on in the show as far as us going forward and what we're up to, what the plans are for the next few months. Like I say, if you're new here, this is us doing in a very chilled, loose format, reporting in a sort of magazine format, the prehistoric news, that famous oxymoron. Anyway, very glad to see David, Alison, Lily, Kev. Hi there, Kev. Jill, Green Dragon Reprise. We probably know you, but I can't. I'm very bad at associating tags with actual names. Stuart, Simon, my goodness, you're gluttons for punishment, you lot. Sue, hello, Nelly. And good evening from Germany. I don't recognise the tag. Thank you for being here, Kimberly. Yes, we are international here. Diana from Italy. Joris. Hello, Joris. Good to see you. I'm just bowled over by your your enthusiasm. You have to say that a lot of these people we were talking to only the night before last, and
yes.
I just worry about them, frankly. I worry that they've not got proper lives.
We'd say you all need to get out more.
God. Ulla, good evening from Denmark. Glad to see you, and glad you put us in your calendar. That's remarkable. Why would anybody do that? I ask myself. Kimberly, Frank, Nice Dragon. Good evening from Sweden. Diorman, oh, hello there. Steve-O, Viti. Hi from England. Okay, Pavla, Nelly again. Okay, that's it. I think I've said almost everybody's name. Right News Network. Hello, from Cornwall. Okay. So, is there anything else that we need to air before we kick in with the news?
I don't think so right now. We'll probably think of something as the evening goes on.
Hello, Marianne from Norway. Thank you for being here. Excellent. All right. Well, we'll think of stuff as we go along. But first, I want to bring up the first article we're going to have a look at. And that is... Oh, why is that slipped? I must adjust that. It's funny how you set things up to go right. And you pay attention, why is that slipped in the screen between the last time, a couple of hours ago, that I set it up all beautiful with no gaps or anything. And then it just slips down. I'll fix it in a moment. I'll hand over to you to talk, and I'll fix it in a moment. But in the meantime, and sorry to kick off with things that pertain to potential violence first off. Rest assured, unlike last time, there's very little people being beastly to other people involved in this week's. I think this is the only one, isn't it? Yeah.
It is the only one, actually.
Huh?
Yeah. It is the only one, yes.
It is. Oh, I know how to fix it. Hold on a second. Bear with me. Talk, Rupert. There. Look at that. Those are clever.
We'll kick off. Yeah. Well, this is exotic violence. This one.
Fractured rib on a 12,000-year-old skeleton provides insight into violence in ancient Vietnam. Never been to Vietnam before. So scientists have found what they believe to be the earliest evidence of violence in Southeast Asia. Studies of a 12,000-year-old skeleton of a man discovered in Vietnam reveal he was shot by an arrow with a quartz tip. I've never heard of that before. However, it wasn't the injury that finished him off. He likely died of a subsequent infection, according to a paper published in the journal Proceedings of the Royal Society, B. Biological Sciences. The nearly complete and well-preserved skeleton, dubbed TBH1, was excavated from the Tung Bin 1 cave in northern Vietnam in 2018. Dates back to the late Pleistocene epoch. Although his skull had been crushed and he had a minor ankle injury, the man appeared to have enjoyed good health during his life and died when he was about 35. Further study of the skeleton revealed he had 25 ribs. How do you that's clever, managing an odd number. One more than the normal 24. Supernumerary ribs, such as this, are present in around 0.2% to 1% of the general population. The rib was fractured, located near the neck, and showed signs of infection, such as a draining What's that? Cloaca. Cloaca. This is an opening in the bone that allows pus from an infection to drain. Don't worry, this is the only bit of graphic stuff in the whole show.
Yeah, he probably wasn't a happy man when it comes down to it.
Researchers also discovered a small triangular quartz flake near the rib, which they believe was part of a projectile, such as an arrow, that did not kill him instantly. He likely lived for a few months after the initial injury. In addition to the draining cloaca, the evidence for this includes the presence of a false joint or pseudoarthrosis between the fractured pieces of rib. This is something that develops when a bone fracture doesn't heal properly. It does not occur with a fresh break. So those are the ribs that we're talking about, I guess. Yeah. Now, while the research offers a fascinating insight into the life and fate of one man who lived thousands of years ago, the scientists behind the paper believe it says more about conflict in this part of the ancient world. The trauma and subsequent infection are the likely cause of death, and to our knowledge, the earliest indication of interpersonal conflict from mainland Southeast Asia, wrote Christopher M. Stimpson, lead author of the study. So the research is significant. However, the single discovery is not enough to draw a conclusion about how common violence was at the time. More discoveries of existing or newly excavated remains could tell us a lot about the origins of conflict in Southeast Asian societies. So there we have it. This, I mean, we've included
it's an
it,
intriguing
I think,
one.
because of the sort of exotic to us, exotic location and the sort of slightly exotic means of dispatch, I guess.
Do you know, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because I was slightly bewildered about the way they were talking so much about, the evidence of violence, as if any interpersonal violence was, was an unusual thing. And, this is the first evidence of violence. And
Yeah.
well, humans have been pretty horrible to each other forever, really. So it seemed an odd angle to focus on. What got me was the quartz arrow tip. I know I'm going off on one, but it did make me wonder. You think all the story things that we have of things like, you need a stake to kill a vampire, and you need a silver bullet to kill a werewolf, or whatever. And I thought maybe it was a quartz tip was a special weapon to dispatch somebody in a certain way.
There you go. I think that's the value of it. It's so much fodder for the imagination, isn't it? As I say so many times with these things, so much scant but intriguing evidence makes you go off and think, well, there's a novel there. You can build a novel around that.
Yeah, yeah. See what Dan Davis does with this. Nick's made a comment. He's quoted Plato: "Only the dead have seen the end of war." Yeah. How true is that?
Sad but true. Annika, hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us from Sweden. And Peter from Holland, greetings to you, sir. Silent State, hello from Dover, greetings. It does. I suppose we ought to get a crib sheet, Rupert. That there are people here that we recognise from their,
what for handles,
avatars and handles and stuff. But remembering how to attach them to the names we actually know them by, we really. Maybe it's too late, but we need to give ourselves a crib sheet. I live in horror of insulting people, thinking we don't, remember and stuff. But you have the advantage, folks. You have the flipping.
You really do, yeah. That's why I won't use pseudonyms or anything, because it's just then everybody has to remember. Anyway, unless you've got something else to say about that, Rupert, we'll probably move on to the next item. I haven't really. I mean, we were really only drawn to this because of the uniqueness of the weapon, really. But I mean, that guy must have had a very uncomfortable end to his life with all of that. So yeah.
Greetings to Holland, greetings to Germany. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy. Oh, and from Dallas. Oh, it's so easy to take it for granted, isn't it? But
the fact that we can have a completely global evening, I find it. We complain about tech when it doesn't work, but let's be honest. It's absolutely a miracle that we can do this.
But for people to tune into just talking about old stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, well, join the fun. Thanks for being with us, folks. Let's move on.
Yeah. Actually, is it easy for you to put that last image back up?
Well, yes, it is. Pourquoi? That one. Or
He's got better teeth than us.
Oh, let's not go there. That'll spark a whole new conversation. Yeah, sorry, you wanted that image back up again. Was it that one? Or
No, I don't.
Ribs? Well, you're messing with me.
Yeah, come on. No, I've done that. That's all I was going to say.
We'll never forget California. How are you doing over there? No, can we move on then?
Yes.
Thank you. Discovery of wild cereal foraging far from Fertile Crescent challenges assumptions about agriculture's origins. The dawn of agriculture in the Neolithic was a major development in the evolution of modern human culture. Although scientists agree that farming developed independently several times around the world, including Africa, the Americas, and Eastern Asia, the origins of many key crops, such as wheat, barley, and legumes, have been traced to the Fertile Crescent and the harvesting of wild grains by a people known as the Natufians roughly 10,000 years ago. Now, a new study by an interdisciplinary research team shows that by at least 9,200 years ago, people as far north and east as southern Uzbekistan were harvesting wild barley using sickle blades as well. Findings are published in the Journal of Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The study shows that the cultural developments which served as stepping stones on the way to agriculture were more widespread than previously realized, challenging arguments that cultivation began as one group's response to population pressure or climate change. The research was conducted by an international team of scholars led by Xingying Zhu of the Institute of Vertebrate Paleontology and Paleoanthropology in Beijing, and under the supervision of the director of Institute of Archaeology in Samarkand, Farhad Maksudov. During their excavations of Toda Cave in the Surkhandara Valley of southern Uzbekistan, the team recovered stone tools, charcoal, and plant remains from the coal cave's oldest layers. Archaeobotanical investigations led by Robert Spengler of the Max Planck Institute of Geoanthropology revealed that the people of Toda Cave were collecting wild barley from the surrounding valleys. Other plant remains included wild pistachio shells and apple seeds, and use-ware analysis of the stone tools, blades, and flakes, mostly from limestone, indicates they were used to cut grass or plant material, similar to finds from sites where agriculture is known to have been practiced. This discovery should change the way that scientists think about the transition from foraging to farming. It shows how widespread the transition behaviors were, says Xingying. These ancient hunters and foragers were already tied to the cultural practices that would lead to the origins of agriculture, Spengler adds. A growing body of research suggests that domestication occurred without deliberate human intent, and the finding that people continually developed the behaviors which led to agriculture supports this view. The research team will continue to investigate how commonplace these behaviors were in Central Asia during this time period. Additionally, the team is further exploring the possibility that these grains represent an early example of cultivation using morphologically wild barley. If the grains were cultivated, it could mean that a separate origin of farming was being experimented with, or that the tradition from the Fertile Crescent spread eastward much earlier than previously recognized. In either case, future research is likely to fill in many gaps in our understanding of human relativity. What do you go for, separate development or fast migration of the practice from the Fertile Crescent?
I think separate development. I think it's one of those, it's an inevitability that people would have come up with agriculture quite independently in different places at the same time.
Yeah.
I think, do you remember, God, it seems years ago now, do you remember when we were talking with Alice Roberts? And she was talking about, because she had done a piece about wheat, hadn't she? But
I should have something that I can hoot or ring a bell, because he just name dropped. So carry on. It's okay.
But she just felt that because we, humans have been harvesting wild grains for thousands of years, and you only needed a situation where you've harvested all sorts of wild grains, and you bring them home to grind them and work on them in whatever way, and some of them are going to have fallen on the floor, and it could be that that people notice that that just from the stuff that gets dropped, that there's one plant that sprouts up quite, that just takes root and sprouts more than any other just from having been dropped accidentally. And that there is going to be a kind of light bulb moment where people go, well, hold on. That one keeps popping up all on its own, and and so that becomes the thing that you actually start to grow deliberately because it's obviously easier to germinate. And I thought that was a really nice idea, actually, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Hello, Kathy.
We don't
Thank
know,
you.
obviously.
Kathy from Newcastle, Washington State, USA. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Kathy.
And your kind words. Stephen, on Orkney. I must get back to Orkney. And Joe from Bristol, thank you for joining us. Finally made it to a live dog asleep. My God. No, what's interesting about that, though, that they pin a date of 10,000 BC. Is it BC or even years ago? BC, which is late. Because the Natufians were doing this thing, in their caves and stuff, 15,000 years BC. And even before
earliest
that,
known toast.
There you
That's
go.
something that has stuck with me. Is the earliest known toast is 14,000 years old.
Yeah.
So and that's Natufian.
What I'm trying to say is that if it wasn't independently, if it didn't arise independently, it's not actually a fast development. Because I think there's a gap of 5,000 years that they haven't taken account of there. That's not slow. That could have spread in that time across that landmass. And we can take some of these practices even further back to Ahalo 2 on the banks of the Galilee. They were reaping wild barleys and those kinds of things, and they were semi-sedentary already there.
Yeah.
So, and that's 20,000 years BC. So,
yeah, it does make you wonder. I mean, I don't want to talk out turn about anybody's research, but it does sometimes seem that a lot of archaeologists don't talk to each other.
Maybe it's funny, I mean, because we've got to hold our hands up as well, about being a bit blinkered. There are certain areas that we're good at and we're inclusive about, and other areas that we're constantly being surprised. We can't throw stones at people who are being professional, being academic, and because of the nature of the beast of research, that you do get blinkered. You can't help but being blinkered if you're following a particular line of inquiry. So,
well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Frank's made a comment. He said, "I believe commonly accepted now is that Ahalo 2, which I think you mean, yes, we did, was kind of a development towards agriculture that was a dead end and was then later developed and continued on." Maybe, but it's one of those things that, that you've got evidence and then you've got interpretation of the evidence. And I think sometimes we need to be a little less rigid about the interpretations, really.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there is a bit of a gap in the record. That's the thing. Ahalo 2 is such a one-off and so early. And would you expect to find the kind of agricultural, hunter-gatherer, gardener, whatever you like to call it, broad spectrum? Would you expect to have found a missing gap, between Ahalo 2 and what we know as the Natufian culture? Not necessarily so. So basing a thing on so little evidence is really, really tough. All that we know is that they had these practices all that time ago.
It's the thing about archaeology, isn't it? We've only got what's been found, and was it Steve? Stephen Charlton said, "I also think the beginning of agriculture could have something to do with brewing beers."
Yeah.
Right News
quite
Network. Yeah,
strong.
there's a few of you talking amongst each other. I think agriculture first started so people could get drunk. It's
There is
I
a
mean, all
strong
these things are
argument.
distinctly possible, and
Mm.
I think the problem. To give an example of how fragile all this can be, that we know that there were vines in the UK, in Britain, the UK, in Britain. Um, what was the date that they gave to it? Doesn't really matter, but roughly
Where are you
5,000 years ago.
going?
Be-
Well,
because
5,000.
do you remember there was one excavation where they found one grape pip,
Oh no!
and
I can't remember.
now
I
the
can't remember
mad
where.
thing, the mad thing about that was, number one, Hawkeye archaeologists who actually found that single grape pip. Uh, but also the fact that if that had been missed, and let's be honest, it was a miracle that it was found in the first place. With I don't know if it was found through sieving or flotation, but if that had been missed, then that is an aspect of exactly this kind of thing that we're talking about that we wouldn't know. If you're not
Yeah,
finding grains in the archaeological record, then how are you interpreting anything? Is all I'm saying, if you see what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah. No, but I'd love to know how much news and information went from east to west. Either we're one mind, one world, same ideas at the same time, or information was traveling. Wow, I'd love to answer that, but it's a whole.
That's a
We could
program
make
on
a whole
itself.
program, make a whole program about that. Anyway, yeah, we're actually trying to make a program about that. That's what the GÖBEKLI TEPE to Stonehenge project is about, really, isn't it? It's it's how information, farming came from east to west. Anyway, that's another story. It must have been, Nelly says, it must have been many trials and dead ends along the millennia. And that's a really good point. We always tend to think in continuity and gradual development, and no, I don't buy that. It's a nice. It's misleading because you're always looking for things to hang on that thread that's only a thread in your mind about the continuity. But in actual fact, things do, develop, fall away. And as somebody pointed out, who was it? Was it Simon? It puts the discontinuity about that way of life down to it being climatological. So climate has got so much to do, and the very fact that we're here is based on contingency in things coming together and happening in certain times. It could have been such a different story had not certain things come together at certain times. Yeah, interpretations are a thorny thicket, says Nicholas. Couldn't agree more.
Kev said, I don't know where this came from, Kev, but Kev said, I imagine the first guy ever to hear a parrot speak was probably not okay for some time afterwards.
What are you on, Kev? Gee.
But yeah, that's probably a fair shout.
Miss you, Kev. Okay. Let's move on. Otherwise, we could be here for a long time. We probably will be. Yeah, we're going to. Yeah. We're going to the Aegean. One of our favourite topics. What?
No, it's all right. You carry on. I'm just.
All right, I'll carry on.
Windows.
8,800-year-old settlement on Aegean island, Imbros, reveals early architecture before the Minoans. It's a nice view. Archaeologists have uncovered the earliest farming architecture ever found in a settlement in the Aegean Islands, placing the northern island of Imbros, modern-day I think it's Gökçe in Turkey, at the centre of a story long dominated by Crete. So I don't know if Imbros or Gökçe is to Turkey or to Greece. It's certainly closer to Turkey, that's for sure. And the
I think
investigating...
Imbros is, I think it's classified as Turkey, isn't it?
Yeah, it must be.
Pretty sure it is.
And also the lead archaeologist is Turkish as well. The discovery at the Örlü Zeytinlik Mound reveals the first architectural remains linked to the Aegean's earliest farming communities, dated to around 8,800 years ago. Scholars had no physical evidence of how the first farmers on the islands lived until now. According to the researchers, the find provides the earliest footprint of permanent settlement in the Aegean, centuries before the rise of the Minoan palaces on Crete. So, previously, it probably says this in the article, but previously to this, and previously to our knowledge, the first steps, if I can put it that way, of people from mainland Anatolia across towards Greece into the Aegean was to Crete, and those settlements are dated to 7,000 BC, and they're below the levels of the present-day site of Knossos. Now, I don't think that I'm not sure that architecture was actually excavated. Neolithic architecture was actually excavated beneath Knossos. I think that it's just the retrieved artifacts and pottery and so on and so forth. I think that indicates it, but I may be wrong on that. Just to be clear about this as well, because this makes much more sense in terms of the first steps across the Aegean to Greece because of its positioning. If I look on the map here, that's the Aegean there, right? There's Turkey, Greece, and Imbros is here, right up in the north. Really not far from Greece. There we go. Right, back to... No, that's the wrong one. Excavations uncovered 5 houses dating to about 6,800 BCE. The buildings feature circular plans with recessed floors and reed-based wattle and daub walls. Archaeologists say these are the oldest known farming houses in the Aegean. This is big stuff for us, isn't it? It may not sort of have the same landing and resonance for other folk, but it's an area we're so being concentrated in. Professor Dr. Berçin Erdoğu, no, it's not, you don't pronounce the G, Erdoğu, who directs the excavation, called the discovery unprecedented. This type of architecture has been encountered for the first time in the Aegean Islands, which makes it extremely valuable for us, he said. The Örlü settlement, together with Knossos on the island of Crete, is the only settlement across the Aegean Islands belonging to the earliest farming communities. His comments underscore how the find transforms the history of the Aegean world. Botanical remains indicate that the first settlers cultivated wheat, barley and peas, which were brought from mainland Anatolia. Animal bones confirm the presence of sheep, goats, cattle and pigs. And together they demonstrate that agriculture and animal husbandry were firmly rooted on Imbros nearly 9,000 years ago. Obsidian from the Greek island of Milos and flint from both Anatolia and the Balkans point to long-distance exchange networks. As a point there, Imbros is actually far further from Milos than Crete is. So, just saying. Really, the early islanders were integrated into broader Neolithic trade routes. Far from isolated, Imbros was a hub of interaction between Anatolia and the Greek world, which implies it was a hub of interaction between also implies it was a hub of interaction between Neolithic first farmers and hunter-gatherer fishers that were already established in Greece and whizzing around the Aegean. For decades, Knossos on Crete, Greece, stood alone as the earliest known farming settlement in the Aegean. The discoveries on Imbros now provide a second site of equal significance, showing that the permanent settlement and architectural innovation reached the northern Aegean much earlier than once believed. Archaeologists describe Ölüzetenlik as a twin cornerstone of Aegean Neolithic culture. Together with Knossos, it proves that farming spread across seas as well as over land, linking Anatolia with the Greek islands. The revelation challenges long-held narratives that place the beginnings of Aegean settlement solely on Crete. Another example of what we've been talking about. Instead, it anchors Imbros in the earliest chapter of Aegean prehistory, a place where the first islands first shaped their homes, exchanged goods, and laid the groundwork for the complex societies that would later flourish in the wider region. Like I say, an example of what we've been saying. We get fixed ideas because it's the only evidence you have of stuff being on Crete. So therefore, Crete's the linchpin.
There are so many aspects to this. One of which is that here you've got an island that is very close to the Turkish coast. And then a couple of people have said in the comments, Aidan said, was it an island 6,000 years ago? Nelly echoed that. And the answer has to be yes, because if you look at various sites on Turkish mainland, that we know the sea level was actually quite a lot higher there than it is now. I don't know the local geological reasons for that, but we know, for example, that Selçuk, which is now, I can't remember how many miles inland, but that was coastal back then. So yes is the answer to that. But the interesting thing here is that we're talking about the oldest known farming architecture that they're talking about here, which they've dated to 8,800 years ago. And Ulucak Hoyuk, that we tried to get into and couldn't. But that's reckoned to be the oldest settlement, and that's 8,850 years old, which is the date they put on that. And that is one of the sites where, again, Milesian
years old, or that's years old. Years ago.
Years old. Yeah.
Okay.
So Milesian obsidian has been found there, and Yeşilova, lots of places that are around this period, and it made me wonder whether, because this island is so close to the Turkish mainland, it made me wonder if the obsidian was going from Milos to southern mainland Turkey, and then it was just being essentially carried north.
Yeah.
So many possibilities there.
Yeah. Some questions. Is this contemporary with Çatalhöyük? It's after Çatalhöyük. By a bit, not a huge amount, but it's
not a lot.
Not a
lot.
Yeah, but not contemporary with. Yes, it was an island. Can pigs swim that far? No, but I mean, this is the thing with VT. Thanks for the question. That's the thing we've been talking about in our later stuff to do with the sea the one before last, the big discussion we had about the sea, kind of tries to. Well, we have a discussion about it. It is that how people did transport their domestic animals to these places, because there's no evidence of larger boats. You've got to assume that they knew what they were doing, and they had good reason to set off across the sea with their animals. To set off. So people are not mad when it comes to set off with their pigs on a whim, and
also I think
like you said,
this,
Rupert, they don't one day wake up and say, "Oh, let's take the pigs for a swim. Let's take the pigs out on the boat."
Damn right. I think
Or
when we were talking
goats.
about this before, though, I think we should always factor in that if you're going to take animals long distance, then you're probably going to be taking smaller, younger, more controllable animals. Or we also do know from more historical periods, particularly in the Scottish Islands, that when animals were being transferred across open water, that the poor buggers were very often just tied to the sides of boats and basically towed across. Which
Though,
just sounds
just
horrendous,
to
really.
hold your
But
horses a moment, Rupert, because Stephen
are you
said it
picking
just
up on
didn't.
Stephen's comment? Yes, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
I was going to comment on that as well. Yeah,
yeah.
off
Which
you go.
surprises me. I have
Well,
to
I
say.
think the fact that it was a land bridge. I mean, we better read it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
If
It was not
anybody's
an
missed it,
island. 6,000 years ago, the North Aegean Isles, including Imbros, were connected to the mainland land bridges during low sea levels. So there we go.
yeah. But land bridges. So yeah, okay. I mean, it's an
But
interesting one, isn't it? And
having
it
said that, I can understand that it being reasonably close. But then so was Cyprus, which is the earliest, evidence of people setting off from the mainland, and that was even 10,000 BC was still a journey of 50 or 60 miles across, and that looks on the maps, to be close to Anatolia and the coasts of the Levant. And Viti, how old were the boat findings in the region? And that's the thing about is that there are no boat. What's the earliest, earliest finding of a boat we've come across? It's really quite recent, of the actual boat. Yeah.
6.5 was it? Was
6
a
and a
canoe
half.
though?
Yeah, no, we're talking about a boat here. Yeah, something seagoing. It's a difficult question to answer because the boats that they base their ideas about how people got about on the Aegean wasn't actually found in the Aegean. It was found near an Italian lake near Rome. But it's been estimated that the La Marmotta canoes, or some of them, were seaworthy and showed signs of potential rigging and the kinds of things you need to do to a boat in order to make it seaworthy. And further than that, there's a project that's been going on for years now that has tested replicas of this very boat stroke canoe on the Aegean, and it's achieved all the things that they need to do to prove that a canoe like that is actually seaworthy. So at the moment, I think the short answer to your question, Viti, is that the assumption at the moment is that they were going about on relatively small but very robust canoes made out of solid single pieces of oak, but they're quite capable of transporting 20 people, 20 rowers, and probably if you take half of those away, cargo on top of that. Carry on.
I know I've said this before, but I find this particular conjecture because you read it all over the place, and I find it really frustrating when we know from Cook's reports about the Polynesians from 17 or whatever, that it is known that the Polynesians travelled thousands of miles across open ocean with their canoes. And so the fact that people are even debating whether these kind of vessels were seaworthy seems to me to be completely bonkers when we already know it was from historical records. It's an odd one, I think.
Yeah.
But also from a prehistory, from an archaeological point of view, I think we should always remember that the oldest vessels found, we're talking about wood, timber that doesn't last in the archaeological record unless you're really, really lucky. So, us finding vessels of any date doesn't really give us a clue to how long people have been using them, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Like I said, the only reason we know that people were travelling about is the evidence of stuff being in places where it shouldn't be. The earliest being obsidian in Frankly Cave, as Nellie's just mentioned, which dates to 12,000 BC. Those levels, so that far ago. And we're not talking about the early farmers here. We're talking about people that would have been still hunter-gatherer fishers, and they were transporting Milos obsidian from Milos, which would have been an island still at the time. Yeah. Okay. Is that exhausted?
I just read just one comment here. The walls of civilization. Great. What's your name? My research leads me to believe that prehistoric humans lived on islands. These islands have a giant wall surrounding the entire island. An example of this is the Pedro Bank just south of Jamaica. Okay, I'll look that one up. Thank you very much. I haven't heard of that. Cool.
Indeed. Shall we move on? I was going to mention... Stuart mentions Kontiki and Tor Heyerdahl.
Yeah, Ra 1, Ra 2.
If you haven't come across it, the Monoxylon project, which, believe it or not, is out of the Czech Republic, is the one that's been testing the canoes in the Aegean for the last, 7 years or so? Something like that. Yeah. It's an ongoing project. MONYX. No, I can't remember. Is it Monoxylon?
It's MONOX. MONOX. Monoxylon. Yeah, MONOX. No, YX. YX.
I'll tell you what. You go
look
find
it up.
You go find the link.
It's a weird word, to be honest. Monoxylon.
But it has a very precise meaning.
YLN, I think. Yes. Well, yes. It's a vessel. It's a boat crafted out of a single log. Basically, a very big log too. But coracles. Should we say something about coracles? Actually,
that would take us off into the wild yonder, wouldn't it?
Just look up. Folks, look it up if you're interested. Irving Finkel. Did a thing called what was it called? It's something about Noah. Anyway, before Noah, before the flood, something like that. If you look up Irving Finkel and the Ark, then his research from Babylonian cuneiform tablets is absolutely bonkers. Brilliant stuff. Irving Finkel, the Ark. Look it up.
Oh, Pavla says Monoxylon guys.
Thank you, Joris. The Ark before Noah. There you go. That's it. Moving on.
Pavla says Monoxylon guys are doing their next expedition next year. Do you think we should be on it, Rupert?
Do you know, I do. We can't be everywhere, can we? It would be a hoot.
I know.
But then, do you know something else, folks, that we only found out recently was that there's a replica, an actual seaworthy replica, apparently, of the Luberon ship. And it's God, we should charter that.
Yeah.
We should charter that and take... We should take a group out. You know?
Oh, I was sick as a parrot when I found out it was actually moored in Izmir port.
Yeah,
because that's where we were.
We should take a group out there, and they could actually row it themselves.
Yeah. Or run it past Rick, shall we?
Sorry, I'm spilling water on this.
Cute Swan. Yeah, Finkel worked with a team building a scale model ark. There we go.
Yeah, half size. Yeah, the full size one is insane.
Or would have been.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. 8,500-year-old submerged Stone Age settlement found in Denmark. So beneath the waters of the Bay of Aarhus, Denmark, archaeologists have uncovered traces of a Stone Age settlement swallowed by the sea more than 8,500 years ago. This summer, divers descended about 8 metres, 26 feet, near Denmark's second largest city and recovered animal bones, stone tools, arrowheads, a seal tooth, and a small piece of worked wood. Think on that. Believed to have been a simple tool. The findings offer rare evidence of a coastal community that vanished as seas rose after the last ice age. The excavation is part of a €13.2 million international research project funded by the European Union. The 6-year initiative links experts from Aarhus University, University of Bradford in the United Kingdom, and Germany's Lower Saxony Institute for Historical Coastal Research. And their aim is to map parts of the Baltic and North Seas, reveal submerged landscapes, and locate Mesolithic settlements as offshore wind farms and sea infrastructure expand. I think, just to interject, that's the thing of this article. It's not so much this single find, but that this whole project is going on in the North Sea, Rupert.
Yeah, what?
I was asking you, but I mean, you agree?
Yes, I totally agree. I'm sorry. I'm not actually seeing you because the window is covering you, so I couldn't see that you were talking to me. This whole project is something I confess I knew nothing about it.
No, me neither.
At all,
yeah.
Before this article. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, should we? Really, the amount of marine archaeology that is being done and the amount of discoveries being made.
Yeah.
But the fact that they have got, that's a chunk of money to a piece of research like that.
Oh yeah, and I think Doggerland has sparked the public imagination about Doggerland. And, Vince Gaffney's got to be hugely responsible for that, hasn't he? If it wasn't for Vince Gaffney, Doggerland would hardly be a thing.
Well, certainly, what's known about it would be a hell of a lot less. I mean, he was the one that was responsible for twigging that the oil companies had already done all the survey work. It's just that nobody had been using it for archaeology.
Yeah, but this is one of those instances of it really being down to character. He's one of those characters, that he was able to knock on a door at Shell or whatever it was and convince them to hand over their data from their soundings from years and years and years. And to number crunch all that to determine where all the rivers and inlets and hills and furrows and things in Doggerland were.
Well,
anyway, we're getting off track.
Well, we are a little bit, but I do think that there is so much to be learned from Doggerland that there's not enough archaeology done there. All right, I know marine archaeology is very expensive and very difficult, but crikey, people must have been living right the way across that land for thousands and thousands of years, and all we've done is dredge up thing here and there. There's so much to be found down there.
Most Stone Age discoveries in Denmark have been made inland, far from the shoreline. Peter Moe Astrup, the underwater archaeologist leading the Danish excavation, said this site provides a direct window into life along the ancient coast. Here we actually have an old coastline, Astrup said. We have a settlement that was positioned directly at the coastline. What we're actually trying to find out here is how was life at a coastal settlement. Following the Ice Age, melting glaciers pushed sea levels upward. Around 8,500 years ago, the waters rose about 2 meters, 6.5 feet per century, Astrup noted, forcing hunter-gatherer groups further inland. Astrup and his colleagues at the Musgard Museum in Højbjerg near Aarhus have excavated roughly 40 meters of the seabed, using square meters, I should say, of the seabed, using an underwater vacuum. Tough job, somebody's got to do it. They are sifting through the site meter by meter, searching for harpoons, fishhooks, or remnants of fishing structures. And Astrup described the settlement as a time capsule where organic material has remained sealed in an oxygen-free environment since the sea advanced. We find completely well-preserved wood, and that is the kicker.
Cheers.
Because that is hardly ever happens, and wood is such an important thing, to give you clues about how people were living. What if they find a sea-going boat? If they're finding wood in this area, what if they find a sea-going? What is it? 8,000 years ago? 8,500 years ago?
Yeah.
We'll just keep our fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a time capsule where
well,
organic...
it's something that we... Go on.
So
it's all right. I think we've got a slight time lag, and we keep talking over each other. No, that's fine. Carry on.
Where organic material has remained sealed in an oxygen-free environment since the sea advanced. We find completely well-preserved wood, he said. We find hazelnut. Everything is well-preserved. So, get a little Pompeii down there. Excavations at Aarhus Bay and off Germany's coast mark the early stages of the project. Later phases will target 2 sites in the harsher waters of the North Sea. I expect this is where the expense comes in, where a vast landmass known as Doggerland once connected Britain with continental Europe before it disappeared beneath rising seas. To reconstruct how fast seas advanced, researchers are using dendrochronology or tree ring dating. Submerged stumps preserved in seabed mud reveal when coastal forests were drowned. We can say very precisely when these trees died at the coastline, said Jonas Ogdal Jensen, dendrochronologist at the Moosgaard Museum. That tells us something about how the sea level changed through time. Researchers say that the work not only illuminates the past, but also resonates with present-day challenges. It's hard to answer exactly what it meant to people, Astrup said, but it's clearly had a huge impact in the long run because it completely changed the landscape. Global sea levels rose by an average of 4.3 centimetres in the decade up to 2023. For scientists in Denmark, the submerged settlement is a reminder that human societies have faced and adapted to rising seas before. What's interestingly sort of missing there, I said to you earlier, Rupert, there's a possibility of, because there's 2 things, talking about the North Sea and Doggerland. Of course, it was covered by gradual sea rise in the North Sea, but there was the Zorge slide, which caused a tsunami in the North Sea. And I'm wondering if anything that they dig up from there will provide evidence about how that catastrophic event will have affected people at the time. Because I don't think there's any excavations, any archaeology that's provided any particular evidence to point to how humans were affected by the catastrophe. It's just been an assumption that coastal people
well, there was a calculation, wasn't there, made of how many miles inland in eastern Britain that tsunami would have travelled. How many, you can't make an estimate of how many people would have been killed by that, but yes, I mean that would have changed the landscape immediately and indefinitely.
Yeah. Sorry, I trailed off there because Simon said the part that I read tends to have just disappeared off the screen. And I was thinking, sorry, it was sort of, I was trying to, really? What happened? Okay.
I don't know. It's not like that for me. I think,
no.
I don't know. I think people's bit rates are all doing different things. I don't know. It's a bit weird.
Is that. I'm sorry, Rupert, but were you engaged in saying something there?
I can't remember what, and it can't have been important.
Ah,
I'll tell you what it was. It was that you were talking about the scarcity of wood in the archaeological record,
yeah.
and I was just going to say that, you and I, we've been saying forever that it's, everywhere you go, and I'm not talking about marine stuff, but any archaeological site that you visit, it's standing, standing stones, stone circles, whatever, and we talk about the missing horizontals, that you
Yeah.
don't know what was there. People have, hypothesized about whether Stonehenge, did it have a wooden structure associated with it, with the stones, just the rock solid infrastructure, and it was actually a timber built around it. Well, maybe, it wouldn't be in the archaeological record to know. And one of the really tantalizing things that just showed how this can be a possibility was that there's a cursus that they found on Arran some years ago, and the state of preservation there was much higher than usual, and they found evidence of wooden posts, not big ones like at a palisaded enclosure, but more like a picket fence kind of thing. And there was evidence of there having been some sort of wicker or willow weave going between them. Now, if you have an enigmatic structure like a cursus, and then you put a fence around it, and and suddenly it's not enigmatic at all.
Yeah.
It's just enclosure where, what are you doing? Is it, are you growing crops inside it and protecting from the animals, or are you keeping animals inside it?
Mm.
Whatever. It just shows that so many of these things in prehistory, that they are so enigmatic for us, like a stone circle.
Mm.
As soon as you have other context for it, then the mystery just vanishes immediately. So there must be so much stuff like that with marine archaeology as well. Must be. That was all I was going to say.
Other stuff. So glad you could make it, and thank you for being a faithful subscriber for almost 2 years. It's good to hear. Caitlin Graham says, "Y'all, I'm late. What do I need to know?" Shall we scroll back to the beginning then, Rupert?
Good grief. Yes, so many comments. I haven't been able to keep up with the comments. So I'm sorry if we've missed anything important.
Bitte Vesucius Nut says they need to visit. They're going to visit Pamelta next year.
Yeah.
I wonder when we'll get there, Rupert. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for a while. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, report back, Bitter.
Please do. Yeah. Think of it this way. I mean, in a nutshell, a stone circle was never just a stone circle when it was in use all that time ago. It was never just the stones that we can see now. It's the stones plus what's disappeared. Okay. Shall we go on to the next one? Because we're actually going quite slowly tonight. Hope you don't mind, folks. Yeah. It is what it is. We're having fun. Hope you're doing the same. The whole prehistory of Fife found in one field, experts say. Right. The whole prehistory of Fife. Fife, it's a large part of Scotland. Those that don't know, which includes St Andrew's Golf Course, as I mentioned at the top. But the whole prehistory of Fife in a very short article. Very nice pictures, by the way, though. Looks like that further one is out to sea somewhere. Looks a bit flooded out, doesn't it? Hey-ho. Anyway, archaeologists say they have found evidence that a site in a village near St Andrews has been used by people for about 10,000 years. Traces of an ancient hunter-gatherer's campsite and remains of grains harvested by some of Fife's first farmers were among items discovered on the land in Guardbridge. Archaeologists carried out excavations between 2017 and 2021 ahead of the construction of new homes. Details on the finds have been published in archaeology reports online and in a new booklet. Maureen Kilpatrick, who directed the excavations by Guard Archaeology, said, "We really didn't expect to find the whole prehistory of Fife in one field. The discoveries included tools used for weaving woolen cloth and moulds for making a sword blade that dated the Bronze Age, which ended about 2,800 years ago. Site was also used before this by early Neolithic farmers who left pits containing burnt cereal grains. And traces of temporary Mesolithic campsite were also uncovered. Mesolithic period, known as the Middle Stone Age, began about 12,800 years ago, ended about 6,100 years ago. Jordan Barber, who co-authored a new report, said, "We found evidence a fire pit radiocarbon dated to around 4,320 to 4,051 BC. This fire pit was associated with a cluster of burnt lithics arranged in a distinctive star-shaped pattern, indicative of a tent or shelter where a group of small hunter-gatherers once camped to hunt fish in the nearby estuary."
A group of small hunter-gatherers.
Thank you, Rupert.
Carry on.
Do you want to read? I was doing so well.
You were.
The very earliest evidence of human life on the site were flints, stone tools from 10,000 BC during the late Upper Paleolithic period. Here's the thing. Here's a talking point. The excavation was commissioned by house builder Persimmon Homes North. How does that work?
Yeah.
How does that work? It's astonishing. So we've got this is an instance which is so common. Fresh development has to be surveyed. Lo and behold, they find evidence. That there's archaeology there. Building stops and what's? How's this? 4 years. 4 years. They can't do any development work while this archaeology is done, and it's paid for by the builder, Persimmon Homes. Do they have insurance against archaeology being found on sites, these builders?
I suppose if you've got the surefire knowledge that if that work is done and you've then got acreage that you're going to build on, you know that you're going to be making God knows how many millions out of it in the longer term. So I don't know how much of a problem it is. But hats off to them that they do it properly. It's it's so good.
I just love to know how that works. And where the win-win is, and and gratitude, deep gratitude for the work that's been done. Now I tell you, that's a short article. Do you want to see the paper that resulted from
go on.
the results from this one field? Okay, and you have to keep. Sorry, move over to the insert. There we go. There's the front page. I shall just continue scrolling, okay, while Rupert and I just talk away. Look,
we can
wonderful
just
diagrams,
about
photographs, chinwag diamonds. This is the report from
fantastic
one field
paper.
in Fife, near St Andrews. Look,
I didn't actually know of Guardbridge before this. I don't know if you did, but it's right there on the coast. Actually, it must have been a nice place to live.
Rupert, what did you get from this
How
paper?
far have you got?
What did you get from this paper when you read it?
That it was long.
We haven't read this. I promise it. How long have I been scrolling? I am just coming up to about quarter way through.
Yeah. So if you're interested in the archaeology of Fife,
that's an annoying noise, isn't it? My mouse scroller.
You're going back 12,000 years. Download this paper.
I'll speed things up. I'll grab. There we go. That makes it look like nothing. Sorry, just have to make the point. That's one of the
it's
longest.
amazing.
It's well over 200 pages.
Yeah, amazing piece of research.
Yeah. And it's linked through to, you can go and read it for yourself. Julie says, I wonder if anyone has read it. They do a lot of work, just hats off for the work of archaeologists that have to do this thing, especially when it's commercial archaeology like this. It must be very... it's not glamorous, is it? It's not high-vis jacket and a helmet, maybe, with a trowel in the mud. Anyway. Shall I move on? Yeah. And did I miss anything in the comments?
Alistair said, "Where is the article?" We'll put a link to it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I don't have access to getting it. If you follow, there's a link to this article, to the article I just read, and there's a link through to the paper in the article itself. That's one way of doing it.
I will.
Okay.
Hold on a second. I'm just putting the link now, so you can download it from here. I'll just put it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Too many open windows.
Right. You haven't got this available on your Windows to...
No, I'm putting it in the
yourself,
YouTube pop-out chat.
Yeah, because I have to say...
There you go, folks. I've just put the link to the paper in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you have. Good job. I have to say, my throat, and I haven't got a glass of water here. More fool me. So I was looking for an opportunity to go and get one.
See, I had the forethought to bring 2 pints of water with me.
Shoot. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to go off on one, Rupert, just go on a flight of fancy for 2 minutes while I go and get a glass of water.
While you go and get water.
Yeah, knock yourself
for
out.
For anyone who hasn't seen that, Steve, thank you, Stephen. As he says, just done another quick Google search, and it says property developers do get compensation to cover potential.
Right, you're talking
delays.
And having a conversation. I'm going to get water. Bye.
Bye. Unexpected archaeological discovery insurance. That's pretty cool. Because in actual fact, it's not something that people really take fully into account. That we have this notion of archaeologists working the world over and making all these wonderful discoveries, but a huge amount is because of development. Because of road building or house building, railway constructions, all these things that, that's when so many of these discoveries are made. That's pretty global. So, hats off really for developers, because there's so much that we wouldn't know. There was, I think the times that it can be really frustrating was, there was one instance in Cornwall a few years ago where there was already a housing estate, and they were extending the housing estate. So the developers probably thought that this was just going to be an easy few million quid or something. But so we've already got the housing estate in one place, and they were just extending it out to here. And they started digging here, and started digging up an entire beaker burial area that was really quite extensive, and so it put the development back by I don't know how long. Fantastic excavation there. Sorry, my cat trying to hold hands. Stop it. Go away.
Show your cat.
Anyway, hello, you're back. Pardon?
Yes, I am. Show your cat to the internet.
Wow.
No, I don't mean break your camera. I thought perhaps you could hold him up.
Black cat on
black cat on a black leather chair.
Yes.
Show cat. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What confuses the cat, of course, is that I'm sitting here talking and I've got headphones on, so the cat just thinks that I'm talking to him all night.
Right. Okay. Shall I? Let's do this. Let's do. Ancient DNA reveals hunter-gatherers and farmers coexisted for generations. Not quite sure what that picture's doing in here, but yeah, it's not quite relevant, is it? New study offers fresh insight into the early days of European agriculture, revealing that ancient hunter-gatherers and farmers coexisted for generations. Farming practices spread across the continent. Published in Science Advances, the research reveals that the two groups lived side by side along key migration routes, including the Danube, as early farming communities migrated north from the Aegean and Anatolia approximately 9,000 years ago. What? That's a wrong date. They hadn't got to the mainland 9,000 years ago because, as we've been saying, the settlement in the Aegean there on the Greek island was only 6,800. So yeah, it's a little bit of head behind things.
It was 6,800 BC.
Yeah. Well, it says approximately. I suppose that's okay. Instead of immediate cultural replacement, the study found that interaction between these populations gradually increased over time, leading to rising levels of genetic mixing. Researchers from the University of Geneva, along with teams from the University of Freiburg and Johannes Gutenberg University Mainz, analysed ancient DNA from 67 individuals and paired that data with complex computational computer simulations to trace the demographic patterns during the pivotal era. Their findings challenge earlier theories that suggest a swift replacement of hunter-gatherers by incoming farmers. Matthias Kurrat, I hope I'm pronouncing his name approximately right, senior lecturer at the University of Geneva and lead investigator, explained that the goal was to understand how these groups interacted as farming expanded into Central Europe. The team focused on whether contact between the two populations began early or intensified later along the migration route. Using demographic models, researchers simulated various scenarios like factoring in population sizes, reproductive patterns, migration rates, and potential competition. These simulations were then matched with real genetic data, allowing the team to estimate how interbreeding occurred over time. Kurrat noticed that the results indicate that early genetic mixing was minimal, interesting, but steadily increased as farmers moved further northwest. He said this supports the idea that the transaction to agriculture was marked by prolonged coexistence rather than violent conflict or full population displacement. Alexandros Tsoupas, first author of the study, added that the gradual increase in admixture highlights a complex process of integration, with both groups influencing each other over time. The research also revealed a demographic advantage for early farming communities. Their effective population size was estimated to be, here's the thing, 5 times larger than that of the hunter-gatherers, giving them a long-term edge in expansion. In some cases, farmers made rare long-distance moves, helping to accelerate their spread into regions like modern-day northern Germany. By combining genetic evidence with modelling tools, the study provides a deeper look at how the transition to agriculture unfolded in Europe. It underscores that the Neolithic expansion was not a one-sided invasion, but a slower, more intricate process shaped by coexistence, contact, and eventual blending between populations. Thoughts, Mr. Soskin?
You know, I can't say that I have any tangible thoughts on this. I think that it's one of those things where...
Is it too late? Is it too late for
it? Again, it's one of those things...
Go and have a lie down. I think...
Yes. You'd have no idea how much I need that. But it's our desperate need to make interpretations on the back of comparatively small data sets. But again, I mean, it is interesting that this is the third article that we've looked at tonight that has looked at this this area of hunter gatherer to farmer, and how this was actually actually developing over time. And it's not that it's not conflicting information. It just shows how it wasn't the same in all places. I mean, particularly when you look at areas where the archaeological record shows that people were toing and froing. You can tell from trading or the movement of certain artifacts that people were traveling over these distances and clearly spending time with these other people. So, how long did it take? It could have been generations, even centuries, before people were truly, interbreeding, or as a combined peoples, if you like. That's not the right way of putting it, but you know what I mean. We don't know how long it took, and we have this. We can't help but have this image in our heads of a group of people moving to here and settling down and being with these people, the indigenous people, and it doesn't need to have been like that at all. It could have been, that one person traveled there and they were nice people to deal with, and over time, again, could have been centuries.
Yeah. I don't think this is so much concerned with the time span of doing things. Again, the implication is of the occasional sudden expansion, and then things settle down again and stuff like that. But I think the other thing is it is trying to provide a balance to assumptions made previously. That isn't it funny? That some of the assumptions that have been leapt to is that in order to take over, land or whatever, to move from one place to another, that violence has got to be involved. And I think this is probably, I don't think it set. Hopefully, it didn't set out with any prior assumptions, so no confirmation bias from the get-go. But I think this unique way of using the available data to interrogate that is a valuable thing, and the result tends to say that the integration was organic between the two. The main genetic strand from, as we know, from Anatolia survived all the way through, right through to crossing the Channel and the British Isles. But so that strain has remained separate and unique, and yet along the way, and this is that we're aware, that obviously the interbreeding did go on. Interactions of all sorts went on, and here we come to something, and we'll be able to speak more to this point when we come back from Lepenski Vir, when we come back from Serbia in October, because I think that's one of the of all the singular places where it is known that there's been interaction between the early farmers and the indigenous hunter-gatherers. The Iron Gates Gorge area of the Danube is one of the most studied areas in this respect. And the comings of and goings between the two, shall I call it, cultures, for want of a better word, is better studied there than I think most places. So apart from solving the mystery of the fish heads at Lepenski Vir, I think hopefully that's the big story we'll come back with, is to be able to speak wise words about the interaction of hunter-gatherers and farmers in the early days. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, the hope is that we'll have wise words.
Yeah. I think I'm optimistic.
So am I.
Yeah. The interesting, I don't know, well, as I mentioned, what struck me is the relative population size of farmers and hunter-gatherers occupying similar space, 5 times the numbers, and that's the key to the success of farming. Whether or not farmers were healthier or not than hunter-gatherers, population size, i.e. success on an evolutionary level, always wins.
Yeah.
That's a very banal sort of 64,000 foot way of looking at it, but nevertheless, I think it holds some water.
I don't think it is banal, actually. No, it's true. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So to that end, folks, in case you didn't know, yes, we're going to Serbia, and that is part of the GÖBEKLI TEPE to Stonehenge project. More details down below, and if you haven't heard of it before, on the back of whatever else we do here, and funded by you good people out there through our Buy Me a Coffee campaign, which is what the link is to down below. We're making a series of films, programs, whatever you like, that eventually is going to tell the whole story from Anatolia right through to Stonehenge. We've already been to Turkey. We've done stuff on Turkey. We've done stuff at Stonehenge, and we've got loads of film in the can. And we're dependent on funding, basically, help with our funding from you lot out there. So if you think that's something you could help with, you want to have a look at some of the stuff that's already come out, have a look at the playlists we've got from GÖBEKLI TEPE and the other GÖBEKLI TEPE to Stonehenge playlists out there. We've got a way to go yet, lots of stuff to do, so your help will be really gratefully received. A coffee, what is that, $5? One coffee, you can buy as many as you like.
Yes.
I think we've raised about 12 grand already there. We've got a way to go. I mean, and we've spent as we go along, but money that is donated through Buy Me a Coffee is ring fenced. It's entirely ring fenced for production expenses when we go abroad, flights and travel and
every
like
penny
that.
of it. Yes.
So
it's entirely down to you guys that we've done what we've done so far. So yes, keep helping. Thank you very much.
Alternatively, there is our Patreon page. Many of you watching right now, we know our community members already, and if you'd like to join them, you can do so for as little as $5 a month. We've got over 200 exclusive Patreon-only podcasts. If you include the Monday Megaliths and the Monday Moots, we do a special podcast for Patreon folk every Monday, and we've been doing it for many years, and there's quite an archive there. Which if you like the sound of our voices wittering and saying stuff, but and you like things to send you to sleep at night, go to Patreon. It's all there.
But apart from the podcast, there's a lot of stuff on there actually that is just for patrons.
Patreon money for beers. Patreon money keeps us blooming alive, I think. Because we could go that angle, couldn't we? Oh, please, Governor, spare us. I don't know where my next chili con carne's coming from. All right, enough of that.
Actually, you know what? Just pick up on a couple of comments. Susan's just commented. Hello, Susan. It's nice to see you.
It's so good to see you.
Susan said, "I'm farming, but still gathering all these thousands of years later, and share with many friends that are still hunting birds, deer, elk." And I think that illustrates such a good point. doesn't it? That these things are
Yes,
not
yes,
mutually
yes.
exclusive.
Yeah.
And we have this thing. In the literature, it gives you the impression that it's either or. The people either did this or they did that, and that's just so wrong, isn't it? There might have been a balance, or an imbalance rather. There might have been a preference for one over the other, but no, I think that I mean, you only need one bad year from a farming point of view, where suddenly hunting and gathering just becomes completely essential because the weather's been rubbish. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good point. It's a very good point.
Mm-hmm. Liam's ask, is trapping fish in a stretch of caged off rivers and ponds farming? That's an interesting question, because Neolithic
I would
people
call that
survived as
gathering.
such as because Neolithic people survived as such as farmers came in and made hunting impossible. The fish statue of Serbia are amazing. Yeah, we look forward to seeing those in person in a few weeks' time, Liam. Not quite sure I got the gist of the question there, so I can't really. I could go off on one, but
What
not
is
sure it'd be
trapping
hitting
fish
the thing.
farming?
Yeah,
It's a moot point, isn't it? It's a moot point.
yeah.
Aidan says another blogger asked for buy me a whiskey.
We could change it to buy me a coffee. It doesn't have to be buy me a coffee. On the buy me a coffee site, it says you can change it to anything you like. Could be buy us a beer. But anyway, buy me a coffee knows people know what we're talking about. Oh, I'm going to move on, Mister. Archaeologists uncover extraordinary 3,000-year-old mural in Peru. I'll tell you what, Rupert, have you got this handy? I know you have to stare at the other screen, but could you take this? Give my old throat a rest.
Yeah.
Bless you.
If you can keep up with me in the scrolling, then
I will.
Got
yes, I've got a very nice picture.
Okay, so
there.
Excellent. Anthropomorphic forms, motifs of fishing nets and the Andes night sky, and renderings of coastal flora and fauna are among the designs adorning an ancient mural discovered unexpectedly last month in northern Peru. Once multicolored artwork, local archaeologists said in a statement, bears previously unknown decorative techniques and symbolic imagery, and warrants increased protection measures by authorities as the area faces urgent preservation threats. Uncovered by a team of archaeologists led by Ana Cecilia Mauricio, a professor at the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru, the work is a remnant of an interior atrium from a ceremonial temple dating back more than 3,000 years. The nearly 20 feet long mural was found at Huaca Yolanda site in La Libertad, an area distinguished by its indigenous cultural heritage, namely of the Moche civilization, approximately 100 to 800 CE. This mural at Huaca Yolanda is unique, Maurizio said in a statement. Nothing like it has ever been recorded in the area, neither in the Santa Valley nor in the Chao Valley. And I mean, that picture below that, you showing that? I can't see what you're doing. Yeah, it's an astonishing thing here.
Yeah.
Despite its age, the mural still retains traces of the vibrant blue, yellow, and red pigments that once coloured its designs, which include a massive bird with outstretched wings surrounded by diamond motifs and anthropomorphic beings displayed alongside plants and stars. There are also depictions of what appear to be fishing nets, underscoring the intricacy of the work. The mural originated during Peru's formative period, approximately 2000 to 1000 BCE, a pivotal time in development for the early complex societies along the northern coast. Maurizio told Hyperallergic that this era was a time when religious temples were known as the main spaces of community power, as shamans were considered to be at the top of the social hierarchy. The mural is very unique to Andean archaeology, Maurizio said. Its images represent life, fertility, and the importance of shamans, men and women, with the most powerful group. Except for some pigments and mollusk shells that were used as spiritual offerings, Maurizio said that the archaeological team has found few remaining artifacts associated with the mural and its surrounding architecture. The researchers are now urging Peruvian Ministry of Culture, regional officials, and international heritage groups to take measures to safeguard the work, as the area was found in faces. As the area it was found in faces relentless threats of looting and damage from agricultural machinery. Protective fencing, archaeological conservation, and surveillance are urgently needed to preserve this rare window into a formative and sophisticated past, the archaeological team said in a statement. It's just, I mean, I've never seen anything like that in Peruvian archaeology. I don't know if Nelly has anything
Just
to
go
say
back
about
to that first picture again, because it sort of scrolled past that. Yeah, quite remarkable stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the trouble is, because I'll speak for myself, know so little about the Americas, the prehistory of the Americas. Despite we're the prehistory guys, but our focus is relatively narrow and towards our side of the world. That I have difficulty putting this in a context. Do you?
Yes.
But you've been to Colombia.
Well,
Yeah, so
I mean,
more resonance
Peru,
for you, perhaps.
I love Peru and Colombia, but I think one of the problems for us as the prehistory guys is that the prehistory of the Americas brings us, uncomfortably into history as a period,
I guess,
for further east. So it's just very difficult. And also,
it's Nicholas. You can go. It's okay. Blood sugar dropping a little past lunchtime here. If you need to go and eat, we'd hate to be responsible for you falling over and hurting yourself.
That wouldn't be right.
It's not a problem. Go make yourself a sandwich, for goodness sakes.
But no, that's the thing, really. And also because so much is known, say, about the Inca. I mean, if we're going to talk about Peru, then about the Inca. Less about Mosh, but it is that the thing that so much is known about. You go further north, go into Mexico, for example, whether it's Aztec, Maya, that there's a lot that is known, and it's very rare. We hardly ever see articles like this come up, where a really significant discovery has been made from slightly earlier period, that when you look at, the Inca, for example, well, they're late. As far as we're concerned, you can almost call them Elizabethan, it's or Tudor. It's quite odd, really,
like
how
this house.
Exactly. Exactly, and whilst that there is, and it will never go away, I don't think, but whilst there is huge debate about the true age of some of the megalithic sites that they're classified as Inca sites, but there's a number of them, Sacsayhuaman being one, where there are strong possibilities that it predates the Inca by quite a way. But it's not certain, it's so the jury's out. But that's the trouble. As I said, new discoveries like this are very rare, coming from this this far back. I'm sorry, I'm looking over there because that's the screen I was reading it from. Because this is 3,000 years old. It's very unusual that some things of that age are turned up over there. What are you laughing at now?
I'm just laughing at the effect one can have all over the world, wherever in the world it is. And Chipper Chat says, "My dog woke up when you mentioned sandwich." Yay. Anyway, and also there's been talk going on in the chat about the colour, which is something you always got to mention when you see, bare stone like that. Also, you've got to imagine the incorporation of colour, whether it be in Peru or indeed at Göbekli Tepe or Karahan Tepe or
it's amazing when it does get protected. That I was completely blown away at Teotihuacan in Mexico, where there was just one area that they've kept it protected, where you've got all these murals and carvings going on, but there's one area where colour's still there. These amazing rich blues and reds
I know, but here and on the continent, if you walk into a cathedral or even a medieval church, so it's a rare thing when there's any colour left over. It's usually bare stone, and then occasionally there's a place where it's been restored or murals have been uncovered, and they're so startling and full of life and not too dissimilar to the paintings the murals you get in ancient sites like this. Are still looking at the same things with reverence and awe, and there's a church not far from here, where devils leap out and animals, and there's underneath the plaster incredible things are, and then there's a startling colour that was used in the great cathedrals, Tewkesbury Abbey, not far from here. The reds and the blues in all those arches. It must have been stunning when the whole church was, rendered in colour. And those tombs, they wouldn't have been
not to mention gaudy.
Gaudy, indeed. Yeah. Anyway. Just saying.
Stephen has put a comment and said, have you seen anything about the dolmen field recently discovered in Colombia? Yeah, I have. And I found it very uncomfortable, to be honest, because there's a load of dolmens been found in Colombia which look really seriously, uncomfortably like classic Neolithic European dolmens. And you think, okay. I mean, the thing that's so intriguing about it, I got to be honest, I have seen film of them. I haven't seen any official research papers on them. I've just seen the film that was put out by some guys who were actually, out wild filming them, if you like. That's all I've seen. So I haven't seen anything that's any scientific research on them, dating or attempted dating or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it, because at the moment, one of the biggest anomalies really is that there are no dolmens, for example, in the whole of the United States. In the whole of North America or in Canada. There are none. There are a few structures that seem to have Neolithic sort of flavors, European Neolithic flavors in northern United States, Connecticut being one. But again, jury is very much out on that. And so for there suddenly to be found some that look extraordinarily like European Neolithic dolmens found in South America is that just independent development of a theme, or is there something else going on? We don't know. Jury's out. It's very interesting.
You remember which country has the most dolmens in the world?
Well, of course, Korea. Yeah. The Korean Peninsula has 40,000 dolmens. 40,000 dolmens on the Korean Peninsula.
And they are a remarkable thing. And I think also the biggest dolmen in the world is in Korea as well.
Yes, it is. It's it's insanely huge. I can't remember, is it 200 and something tons or something, the capstone?
Yeah. If you want to
Something
know
like that.
more about that, we just it's rude. I know. Ulla says what, but it's true. And isn't it in the 10 megalithic sites thing we did a sort of list program?
Yes, it is. Yeah, remembered. Yes, it is.
I think that's when we covered it. They're much later than Neolithic dolmens, and they seem to be associated with the period in time in Korea where there was a switch from millet as the base food to rice. I think I'm remembering that right. Very interesting background to it all. So anyway, there's a little thing just thrown in there. Korea's the place to go for dolmens.
Yeah.
I'm going to do another article
Move on.
now, quickly, because we're stretching it out tonight. This image, I'm going to put it full screen because this is a sort of it's the aesthetic of this that is important. This image was carved 3,000 years ago, and then it was buried by a massive landslide. A small stone with images on both sides was found at a 3,000-year-old cult site. How do we know it's a cult site?
Just honestly, doesn't that just make you want to?
Was the site in use until the moment disaster struck? Okay. Around 8,000 BC, a landslide occurred in Galdal, a river valley in central Norway. The whole area covered in clay from that landslide, says Hannah Bryn. Bryn, then working as an archaeologist, for the Trøndelag County Municipality, was sent to the site in 2014. She quickly uncovered signs of human activity from long ago. The E6 highway was to be expanded, requiring an archaeological survey. Bryn returned to the site, now as an archaeologist with the NTNU University Museum, where she still works today. They had to search a vast area covered in clay layers up to 3 meters thick. It took longer than expected, specifically 2 summers instead of 1, but what they found beneath the clay was worth it. It's a very special find. We've never found anything like it in a central Norwegian context. It's entirely unique, says Bryn. So, what the archaeologists uncovered in Galdar was a 3,000-year-old cult site. That's what it says here. A place where people in the past practiced their religion. The site consisted of 2 main areas, Bryn explains. Each section featured a building with associated burial structures. The buildings were long houses measuring about 10 to 12 meters, not particularly large. Near one of the long houses lay a somewhat larger burial cairn, a burial mound made of stone. There are also 3 stone slab chambers here, a kind of burial chamber built from flat stone slabs. Scattered around the house and the burial site were loose stones decorated with carvings. One stone found in the burial cairn had a clearly pecked footprint, complete with toes. It also featured a cup mark, a round depression about 5 to 10 centimeters wide, carved into the surface. Images coming in a moment. Beside the house, a semicircle of stones was arranged. One had the outline of a footprint and a cup mark, while another had several cup marks. I'll put it up to full screen so you can see the details a bit better. At one end of the long house was a collection of slightly larger stones, and hidden beneath them, Bryn found a small stone with engravings on both sides. So you can see the stone with the little figure on it. And that's the cluster where the engraved stone was found. So, discovered at the site where it was once used. The stone measured about 20 to 10 centimeters, like a small photograph. On one side, a human figure, what appears to be a dog, are pecked onto the surface. And above the hand of the human figure, a bow and arrow engraved, created using different technique than the rest of the image. On the other side of the small stone are another human figure and an unidentified shape. These two are made with pecking technique. Alongside the human figure, a ship is engraved. I wonder if he was a sailor. It's a very special find. That hold the image of that ship or boat in your mind. It's a very special find, says Bryn. So small, it's so small, it's portable, you could carry it in your pocket. Most rock art in Norway is carved or pecked directly onto bedrock. Finding portable stones like this lying in the landscape where they were once used is especially rare. There aren't many discoveries that compare, says Bryn. So that's the one with the foot. And you can see the toes engraved at the top there. The archaeologists did not find traces of settlements beneath the clay. They did uncover some cooking pits and a fire pit, likely used for bronze casting, but the area between the two zones with long houses and graves was otherwise empty. It likely wasn't a place where people lived. Well, perhaps if you spread your dig a bit further, I don't know. Who knows what you might be able to find. It points to a site of special significance, says Bryn. What the carved stone was actually used for is impossible for archaeologists to say with certainty. But here we go, Rupert. Anybody playing the ritual game tonight? But these stones had a ritual significance together with the burial structures, says Bryn. Hick! In the stone slab chambers, archaeologists found burnt bones. It's been confirmed that these were human bones and they've been dated roughly to have been 1,800 BCE, says Bryn. That's the estimated time of the landslide. Could the site have been active when the clay came crushing down, sealing everything beneath it? No traces of people here. It wasn't a Pompeii, although we did wonder about that ourselves, she says, referring to the Roman city that was buried and preserved after a massive volcanic eruption from Mount Vesuvius in the year 79. Whether the cult site was still actively used when the landslide was difficult to determine, according to Bryn. And, I won't read the rest. Digging is ongoing. They expect to find more. A cult site, Rupert?
Oh, stop it! I think just.
Well, I'm winding you up, but
I know I'll be going back to my cult site shortly to have a glass of wine. It's one of those.
I tell you,
honestly.
But what touches me and it touches you about this is these seem like very personal items.
Yeah, I love that. I think that I was saying to Mike earlier on, I just think that's where somebody had in their pocket, and they're taking it out and say, look, here's a picture of your dad when he was such and such. This is pre-photography family photos. That's what it is.
I'll say this once, and then I'll leave it alone because it'll take us nowhere. But I presume the one on the right, I presume, is the reverse of the other. These are, the two sides of one stone, actually. But that motif, together with the other figure, the crozier there, that is a repeating motif inside of so many of the Morbihan passage graves and tombs. Table des Marchands, it's in Gavrenis, to name but a few. That crook or crozier motif, it repeats and repeats and repeats, and people don't know what it is. I don't know if there's been any interpretation of this one particularly. But portable art, what else could it be for? Isn't just something, a keepsake or whatever? Does it have to be cultish? I'm so touched by those. But I'm so touched by the naivety of those figures because, as I said to, are you going? He's off. Oh no, it's the cat.
Yeah, but again, black cat on a black chair. It's no good. That doesn't work at all. I tried.
Yes, you did. Well done. But I said to Rupert earlier when we were talking about that reminds me so strongly of doodles I scribbled in my workbook or exercise book when I was at primary school, for goodness sakes. We've all done that. We've all done those figures.
Yeah. Eden
The
says, could it be
feet.
Ogham script? Well, 3,000-year-old Ogham, yeah. Well,
I'm just going to return to the feet as well, because the foot motif is a thing that occurs in the Petit Mont in on the Quiberon, not on the Quiberon, the Arzon Peninsula. That sticky out bit there, that huge tomb. That in one of the stones there, inside there, and it's one example of it, is the two feet pointing up like that.
yeah.
And the other only other example I know of, apart from the ones that there's a group of stones up in Liverpool, which I forget the name of, but the stone.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
The stone in the middle of the stone circle in Cornwall called. Oh,
Sure.
come on, you've let me down. I've let myself down. I've let the team down. You've let yourself down. You've let the team down. Boscawen. Boscawen. It's Boscawen.
Oh, well done.
I've remembered. Yeah. There's a leaning stone in the middle of Boscawen stone circle in Cornwall. And at the base of it, there is a carving which always used to be interpreted as 2 axe heads. But some photogrammetry done, I forget the name of the guy, has revealed that they weren't 2 axe heads, they're 2 feet because they got toes. So feet on the bottom of a leaning standing stone in the middle of a stone circle in Cornwall, feet at a cult site in Norway, and in the inside Petit Mont.
Yeah,
I'll leave that. Nothing to do with that. Doesn't mean anything. I'm just showing off. Shall I move on, Rupert? We're moving on.
Yeah.
It's been a long night.
Are we going to go to Phoenician oil bottles?
Yes, if you like. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Cool. Here we go. Phoenician oil bottles of Motoya reveal the role of scent in the Iron Age Mediterranean. Don't know if I better blow that up a bit so you can just get an idea of what the extent that we're talking about. I presume each one of those blobs on there from Spain right across to the Levant is an indication of.
Yeah, that's a site of all places where they've found these Phoenician bottles. It's, I mean, that just shows extraordinary scale of trade, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the bottom section's blow-ups, if you're confused, those refer to the blocked out things on southern Andalusia and south of France and eastern Andalusia and Sardinia. Lots on Sardinia as well. Anyway, I shall move on to the article. Pottery shards, coins and bones can survive for millennia beneath the soil, but the scents of antiquity typically escape archaeological recovery. Now, for the first time, in an interdisciplinary team of researchers has comprehensively analysed the production, technology and contents of 51 ceramic oil vessels from the Phoenician settlement of Motia, located on an island off the coast of Sicily. Their findings reveal the central role of scent in shaping identity, memory and cross-cultural exchange in the Mediterranean region during the Iron Age. Researchers from the University of Tübingen and Complutense University of Madrid led the study, which is published in the Journal of Archaeological Method and Theory. The vessels examined plain, small, ceramic vessels measuring between 15.5 and 18.5 centimeters in height date from the 8th to the 6th centuries BCE and were usually found in tombs, houses, and sacred areas. Their widespread distribution across and beyond the Mediterranean suggests these vessels fulfilled diverse functions, says Dr. Andrea Orsinger. The team examined the composition of the ceramics to determine the origin of the vessels. Further analysis of the organic residues preserved within the vessels provided insight into their original contents and intended use. The results point to a production origin in southern Phoenicia, specifically between present-day Beirut and the Carmel region. Organic residues were detected in 8 of the 51 vessels, revealing traces of plant-based lipids as well as pine and mastic resin, which are strong indicators of fragrant oil preparations. Our research confirms these ceramic vessels were used to transport aromatic oils, says Amicone. These oils were more than simple commodities. They functioned as cultural connectors, as expressions of identity that accompanied Phoenician migrants across the Mediterranean. Carrying a sense of home, they served as instruments of memory and reinforced shared practices and olfactory experiences among dispersed communities, says Orsinger. Do you, Rupert, when such language as, instruments of memory and reinforced shared practices and what was
going
it?
Off on one
shaping identity, memory, and cross-cultural exchange. Do you think it's helpful or not?
I don't think it's helpful at all. Stick with the facts, I'm afraid. I understand why people do, but no, I don't think it helps, really. It's one of those things that it says the smell of pine. It mentions somewhere that the scent of pine and how that would be reminiscent of. And for me, it's making something overly significant in terms of it makes it sound. Grab your glasses, folks. It makes it sound as if it has a ritual significance when you might just like the smell of something. So lavender, for example, reminds me of Provence, but that doesn't mean that I like to have lavender around the place because I like to have memories of Provence. It's deliberately conflating things. So I think to actually, for any archaeologist or researcher to be defining some of these things as vehicles of memory, I think is going off on one.
Yeah. Or, as Joris de Mol says, I call bollocks. Forgive my language.
I was trying to be polite. What he said. Yeah,
it's not usually your style, Rupert. You're so diplomatic as soon as we go live.
I know.
Is another person. Believe me.
The frustrating thing about this, though, is that I really liked this article. As I said right at the beginning of the program, I really liked this article because the huge scale of this trade in perfumes, or scents, if we don't want to call them perfumes. It shows so much about the interactions of different peoples, which is always an important thing. Always saying that it's always about the people, but no, it doesn't do anybody any favors to try and make something into something else.
Yeah. I think we understand you. I think we understand you. Which is kind of why I asked you the question. I haven't been watching the chat, And there's a couple of things. Ulla says there are foot motifs in some petroglyphs on the Danish island of Bornholm. Oh, I wish. Yeah, I've been to Bornholm, and I've been to a couple of stone circles on Bornholm a long time ago. But I didn't know that. That's fascinating to know. And King Rollo 78, you just said Isle of Man. What was that apropos of? Is it something, a chat, or are you saying there's something with feet on the Isle of Man? I'm a Manx. I'm Manx, by the way, which is why mentioning the Isle of Man caught my eye. And you know the Isle of Man as well, Rupert.
I know the Isle of Man extremely well. I can't think of feet on the Isle of Man. You'll have to...
no. Just,
it's
probably
that,
in reply to something else, or is that where you're from? If so, hey,
maybe.
Fellow Manxman. But
yeah. Actually, do you know what? There's a few things here. Aidan says laxative. I don't know if are you referring to sense, or are you being funny? I might have missed a thread here. Viti says getting rid of mosquitoes, and says it's absolutely true, actually, that and in fact all sorts of pests do not like essential oils.
That is true. That is true.
So you can deter ants with mint, for example, things like that. So yeah, to be honest, I hadn't thought of that. And that might be a good reason for those kinds of oils.
Simon says Isle of Man has a leggy heraldry, does it not? Yes, it does. The symbol of the Isle of Man is the 3 legs of man, which are 3 armoured legs, the thingy bob.
That's true.
But
it's
Simon,
not feet, though, is it?
No. But what I'm going to say is, Simon O'Rourke, riddle me this,
Hello,
me
Simon.
whatever. Why is the symbol of Sardinia also 3 legs? Ta-da. Or as got is the triple thing emblem.
Yeah.
Why? Made us back up, but I have to check. Oh, okay.
Have you? Gary says, "Have you guys learnt the Manx language?" No.
Sorry, sad to say, no. Shame of it.
In fact, I don't know many Manx people who speak the Manx language, to be honest.
No, is it still alive anywhere, or is it just sort of...
it is still alive.
It is, okay, cool.
But yeah, well, it's holding on by white knuckles, I think.
There used to be a really good pizza place just round the corner from the Mermaid Pub on the Pier Road in Ramsey. Oh, Ramsey. Oh, my goodness. Memories of when I was a kid. Actually. Yeah, when I was a kid. We used to go to Ramsey. Used to go to the park where used to take a boat out on the lake. It seemed enormous when I was a kid. I mean, when I was 4 years old or something like that. But my mum grew up in Ramsey. So information you didn't know you were going to acquire this evening. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up the evening. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us and providing us with entertainment. Entertainment. I hope we've provided you with some entertainment as well this evening. So this will be the last time we do a news live until at least the end of September. The end of September, won't it?
Yeah.
I expect it'll be October, but before we get round to doing one of these again. Good night to you, Bitter, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for being here.
So we can't promise, but I expect it'll be sort of kind of around about first week in October, as you.
Yeah, it should be. We're because we're in Brittany from the end of next week. We're there for nearly a couple of weeks. Get back home at the end of the last week of September. So we'd need prep for this and what have you. So yeah, I
Yeah.
reckon first week of October.
It sounds like we're
probably-
shutting up shop until October, but no, not at all. That is not the case at all. We shall be doing our level best to stay in communication while we are in Brittany. If we can't manage daily communication, then we'll have failed. But
Yes.
we'll do our best. We have the tech.
Indeed.
We have the tech for you to keep up with us.
And if you join us on Patreon, then you'll be hearing from us on Monday anyway. So
that is true. We've got to think of a Monday mood. I wonder what it'll be. Will it be inspiration from any one of these articles? Only time will tell. And with that, I will say bye-bye. I will creep my mouse towards the little button that says finish, and I will wave my hand and say bye-bye. Goodbye from me.
take good care, folks. Yeah, goodbye from me, and we'll see you next time. All the best.
Bye.